Hi, everybody. It's the Plant-Based Business Hour. I'm Elizabeth Alfano, and I am live from Expo West. It's great to have you with me. I don't always get outside of my office, but when I do, it's fun to be at something like Expo West. It is jam-packed with people here. Very exciting. You can probably see the energy of people moving back and forth. If you're not familiar, Expo West is the premier natural food show. Let's really say plant-based food show. It is primarily plant-based in many ways, which is why today I'm going to have a bunch of guests live from the Ingredion booth, which is booth number 1453. If you'd like to come visit us, we'd love to have you here. But let's talk about what's new at what we're going to taste test today, and then we'll get Ingredion's take on our supply chain, how Russia and the Ukraine situation is impacting that, and what we're seeing up and down the supply chain for plant-based issues and based issues that we're going to solve. But all that is to say, let us start with the brand, everybody. Take Two, Barley Milk, Matt Olsofsky. Am I saying that right?
Olsofsky.
Olsofsky is here. He's the founder of Take Two. I have to tell you, before we taste test this, actually, independently, you and this event, people have come to me and said, I want you to try Take Two. It is my very favorite milk. Tell me why you started Take Two.
Take Two is making a difference. We're a sustainable plant-based food company. Our hero products, Barley, were the original barley milk, the first. And we also the first plant-based milk that uses an upcycled ingredient. So by crafting upcycled barley into products like barley milk, we're able to provide something that's nutritious, delicious, and authentically and truly sustainable.
You say upcycled. Can you share with me what you mean? Are you taking wasted barley, or share with me what that is?
Yeah, so with upcycled barley, we use barley from the beer brewing process. So barley's grown, the sugars and starches go to make beer. And what was left over was considered waste, right? But unfortunately, it was concentrated fiber and protein. It was pure nutrition. And the light bulb went off that says, hey, like, we need to do something with this. We need to find a better home, a better purpose, give this barley a second chance, a second take, so Take Two, to get back to provide people like truly delicious products. And so for us, upcycled food is diverting waste, at the brewery level, taking those ingredients and then reformulating them into something that's really compelling for consumers.
I think that's so exciting as we talk about some of the food waste issues. I think it's up to between 30 and 40% of our food is wasted. Can you share any knowledge that you have on the level of food waste that exists in the U.S.?
Well, I believe it's over 30% is wasted. The impact from the environment is actually greater than the entire transportation sector. So we're looking at the opportunity to make a dent in the universe, to make the world a better place. Tackling food waste is one of the biggest, most critical issues that we need to solve right now.
And just walk through the logic with us, because I think this is so important to understand. Why do you say that it is a negative impact for the climate more than transportation? What is it about food waste that does that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things that all the energy, the effort it takes to grow the crops, to transport the crops, to transform those into foods, and ultimately for people not to consume them, it's a tragedy. You're wasting nutrition. And then unfortunately, like, there's people hungry every day. And the fact that there's these billions of pounds that could be actually go to people to give them a better quality of life, better health that's what we're trying to solve here.
Yeah, I love that you say that. It's such a slap in the face to the planet to take all these resources from the planet and then just basically throw them away, which is why we're about to taste Take Two in just a second. But before we do that, I also want to get a sense for you, just alcohol company, because when I think of barley, I think of alcohol. So is it really the alcohol companies from which you're getting spent barley, or where do you source your barley from?
So we've partnered with the world's largest brewer, Anheuser-Busch InBev, and we're working with them to divert the grain at the level so that we can go right to the source. So a really high quality, high volume ingredient we can then repurpose. And so they produce over 8 billion pounds, billion with a B, pounds of spent grain every year. And we want to transfer every grain into food for people.
Yeah, I love that story. So Anheuser-Busch has come up in the news, or at least on my feed, quite a bit as they're repurposing barley in many ways for you with Take Two, but I've also seen them with something called Evergrain,
Yep.
a company that you probably know. I've also seen them work with the Every Company, and that is a replacing an egg white kind of situation, but working with Anheuser-Busch. So very something that I really hope to see when I go to a place like Expo West, this kind of innovation. I'm seeing a lot of, we are going to get to taste testing, don't you worry. But just your last question for you before we down some Take Two milk. What are your impressions of the show? Because I personally would like to see more innovation. I'm seeing like lots of more hummus and lots of more peat chips or, veggie chips or something. And I really don't want that. I want to see more innovation, like what's coming out of Anheuser-Busch and what you're doing. What's your take on the show?
So one, it's great to be back. It's been, I think, almost 3 years now. And so the energy and networking, we're at 231 and we're talking with people who are interested in investing in plant-based food, where we have innovators and ingredient suppliers. And so I think that opportunity to bring all of the people together in one place is very powerful. What I'm seeing is the bar is being raised for plant-based food. I think the quality, I think the flavors are better than they've ever been. I had an amazing plant-based cheese earlier, and I was like, wow, like it's really hard to believe this is like vegan plant-based. And 5 years ago, that might not have been the case. And so from that perspective, just seeing the innovative products, seeing the passion of the entrepreneurs and the formulators who've crafted these new foods, like that's inspiring for me. And so, that to me has just been an amazing to see in person again.
So you're finding lots of investors are poking around the show?
They are actually. Yeah. It's great that, people see the intersection of truly authentic, sustainable foods and brands and the need to grow those, right? And in a way that, we're by growing these companies, by getting these products to consumers, we are inherently helping conserve resources. And so, I think that's great to see that, the business side of things have realized that as well.
Yeah. So almost for every brand, there's an investor. I mean, I'm just seeing investors crawl around everywhere, which is so fun. Okay. If you could pour us some Take Two, because, how long are you going to make me wait, Matt?
I know.
So.
Right? So we'll start with the barista. So the barista is formulated especially for
barista
coffee and latte applications. So it foams great.
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. I'm sorry, everybody. It's busy here. So
the barista barley milk, really crafted for the coffee latte application. Foam's great, really neutral flavor, pairs well with coffee. It's also great to drink by the glass. It has kind of a whole milk texture and quality to it. And so, really great in coffee shops and food service. Is doing really well. And so I'd love to hear your opinion on it.
Here's a conversation I'd love to have. First of all, very tasty. Very tasty. Very, I get some grain in there.
Very, very light cereal malty notes, but it's not overwhelming. It's not overpowering, right? We want to be able to use it in a coffee. We want to be able to cook with it. If you're making mac and cheese, you don't want it to taste like oats. You want it to taste like mac and cheese. And so the versatility and the neutral flavor and the sort of the creamy, rich texture, it's really universal. It's very versatile, right?
Yeah, I'm getting that barley.
Yeah.
I am getting, and I really like that, of course. And is it a stretch to say that this is great, a great label? Is it a stretch to say that if you like molten, I even get like a note of whiskey. It's obviously not whiskey, but I get that in there. Am I wrong?
You'll probably taste in that light toasted maltiness. Yeah, very, very nuanced, but it's a very nice layering in there.
So, what's your process for making barley milk?
So we start with the upcycled ingredient. So we take the upcycled barley protein and then we actually formulate the milk around it. So we layer in nutrition like healthy fats from high oleic sunflower oil. We put in, things like calcium, 50% more calcium than dairy milk. So people can actually get like true nutrition. So it's not just protein. Our original has 5 grams of complete protein. So it's a true replacement. Our chocolate has 8 grams of protein that we'll taste here in a moment. And so, really a lot of thought and care went around crafting these recipes, so that we can have a something that, whether you're, an eco warrior who wants to like make their, purchase decisions for the most impact, or whether you're just someone who's like, I had to cut milk out of my diet because I'm lactose intolerant. Like we want it to be universally appealing to everyone.
And you can be both. people, by the way. Okay, so let's go chocolate. I mean, why booty around the bush? We know we want the good one, right? I mean, they're both good, but chocolate milk is chocolate milk after all. Oh, look at this. Okay, what can you tell me about the chocolate? Are we cheersing? Yes. Happy Expo West, everybody.
Wow. Yeah. So the chocolate one is something that was reminiscent of the milk I used to drink as a kid. Very rich, very indulgent, complex. You know, it's kind of like chocolate milk for adults. So it's got 8 grams of protein in it. So it's on par with dairy milk, 50% less sugar than flavored milks. Yeah, you still get your 2 grams of fiber. You still get your 50% more calcium. It's kind of like a healthy, indulgent treat. It's great for adults. It's great for kids. And honestly, you know, I'm biased, of course, because I created it. But I will put our chocolate milk up against dairy milk or plant-based chocolate milk. It's probably one of the best that I've only tasted, and it's the most universally loved.
Very complex, very sophisticated aftertaste. I mean, it's like we're going through a wine tasting here, but really, this is very good. I can see why people keep coming up to me and saying you have to have the chocolate milk take too. This is really good and very rich and creamy. I've been having some plant-based milks at the show that are a little on the watery side. So this is really rich. Anything different in the making of the chocolate product?
I mean, we use a premium, high quality dark cocoa. It's not, we're not using natural flavors to create chocolate. We're actually putting cocoa powder in there, and that's why you get that complexity, you get that richness. So it's really, crafted thoughtfully, and we really spare no expense to provide the best chocolate milk experience.
Everybody go find your take two. Where can we find it?
So we're online. We're on Amazon. We're also on Foods, Hive Thrive. Locally, if you're on the West Coast, we're in Ralph's, California, Fred Meyer, Whole Foods in the PNW. So yeah, for sure. Check us out online at take2foods.com. Head out to the retail stores if you have one of those accounts in your area. And yeah, send us the feedback. We love to hear from you.
Okay, but a very last question, of course, since we are here at the, I want to say 1453, and go to the 1400 aisle of Exhibit A. If you're around Expo West, come find us. We're at the Ingredion booth. How is it that you're working with Ingredion? I think of Ingredion for fava bean and pea and chickpea. How is it that you came to work with Ingredion?
So we're a small startup with big ambitions. And in order to really deliver on the flavor, the function, the texture, you really need to have a diverse toolkit. And companies like Ingredion are experts at that. And so to be able to reach out to them, to be able to partner, like, hey, here are the problems I'm trying to solve. How can we help? How can we partner together? And that's how it started. And the fact that they're willing to work, with a smaller startup like Take Two, really just opened up a whole new universe of possibilities and what we could create. And so, if you're going to see the farthest, it's because you're standing on the shoulder of giants, right? And then we're working with, companies like Ingredion. That's how we're doing this.
I've always been amazed at Ingredion, an enormous multinational headquartered in many cities around the world, could be so nimble to work with a smaller brand and help them sort of navigate as small brands do. This is what's so great about small brands. They're nimble, they're quick, they can pivot, they can do all these things a large company can't. They're very creative. They don't have the bureaucracy to get ideas passed through. That Ingredion can sort of keep up with you, for lack of a better expression, and then lend all of their expertise, their distribution channels, their dollars for, let's be real, and also their relationships, and then that know-how of innovation where it counts. What has been the strongest point of working with Ingredion?
You already said it. It's actually getting access to their specialists. To really talk with the ingredient experts one-on-one, and say, hey, here's what I need to do. They know their ingredients better than anyone else. They know, and it really help guide your application development. And so just having access to that is invaluable.
Are you leaving the milk with me?
I'm happy to leave it with you.
Yeah, okay. You don't think you're taking it away, because I've got my hands on Take Two barley milk. I wish we had more time. It's kind of a roundtable event here at Expo West. So Take Two staying with me, but Matt is not. Matt, thanks for coming with me.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate talking to you.
I appreciate talking with you as well.
Okay, have a great show. Matt's leaving, but George is coming in. Bye, Matt. Come on in, George. Oh, it's bacon. We've got bacon here at Expo West. We're very excited about it. George, I'm happy to see you here. Tell me what you do with Ozo, which is Plantera, but tell us the two different names and why and what you do with them.
Sure, of course. I'm the Chief Growth Officer for Plantera Foods. We're a startup out of Boulder, Colorado, very focused on expanding the consumption of plant-based meats in general, and very focused on sustainably feeding future generations. That's the key thing. Ozo is our key tool to do it. Is our brand, is our consumer-facing brand. We're growing very rapidly. We're very excited about it. And this is one of the big hits of the show. We're launching it here. It is the best plant-based bacon in the market.
Oh my gosh. Here, you hold this.
Maybe you got one of them. What about that?
Yeah, so I'm picking this up because I'll eat it. This is bacon, folks. We've got a plate. Sorry, I've got a plate full of bacon here. You hold it. You hold it. Okay, it's a tag team effort. We have a plate full of bacon here at Expo West. I told you you're going to want to come by the Ingredion booth. I think we are number 1453. So Ozo is really making plant-based bacon, but you also make other products.
Yes, we have a very wide portfolio. We started with the grounds and the burgers and the breakfast sausage and started at Kroger and sold that very well. But we knew we wanted something unique, something different, right? And we came back with two different products this year. One is the chicken cutlet that you actually need a knife and fork to eat. Is the best center plate solution in plant-based. And that is already selling at AGB, at Publix, Giant Eagle, Hannaford. And now in May at Sprouts, we're going to have the plant-based bacon. And then in June everywhere. And we're extremely excited for it.
In June everywhere, tell me.
Yeah, in June everywhere. So we're already presenting to a number of retailers. We have extreme high traffic in our booth today. Right now, Aaron May, celebrity chef, is doing a cooking competition in our booth. So it's the place to be. And it's super hot. It's number 2115 here at Expo West. And we're really excited for it. And bacon is basically the best alternative bacon in the market. You can regulate the crispiness, or if you like a little softer bacon, maybe you can cook it a little less. We really thought about all aspects of it. And I do the cooking test at my kitchen with my families. I cook this bacon on Sunday morning. And the best thing that happens is my kids come down asking, "What's for breakfast, Daddy?" Because it smells so great. It's really breaking a lot of those paradigms of the plant-based food, right? It appeals to all five flavors. The texture is right, the flavor is right, the aroma is right. And it stands on the pillars of food that I think plant-based has to stand on, right? You need to offer people what they want. It's not about what they need to reject. It's about what they need to welcome. You need to be invited into people's homes. That's really what Ozo is all about, is how can we make ourselves desirable? How can we make ourselves invited into people's breakfast, into people's dinners, into people's lunches? And bacon does just that.
Yeah, well, I think when I think of bacon, I think of probably meat bacon. I think of one of the unhealthiest foods for you. And as COVID has shown us, and as more people studies show are concerned about wellness in their lives, a plant-based bacon is going to still deliver on taste and texture, but also have a wellness component to that. Can you share what's in the bacon, what the ingredients are?
Sure. So our bacon, of course, is zero cholesterol.
Right.
But very low fat, lower sodium than the animal bacon. It has comparable protein, slightly lower protein, but it's made of soy and pea protein blended with vegetable oils in a proprietary True Bite technology that allows us to have the right texture, the right aroma, and the right flavor.
So I'm gonna just show everybody. I'm gonna break off a piece of bacon here, but I want everyone to really. So I've actually had this like 3 or 4 times now already at the show. Can you hear that crunch? I'm amazed that you can get it to be crispy. It's like bacon.
Yeah, and that's part of the True Bite experience that Ozo is really putting our best foot forward, is how do you experience your food, right? Food is about so much more than simply the taste. It's about the time you spend with family. It's about the aroma and the memories you create. It's about the crunchiness. It's about what is the most. We do a ton of consumer research to understand what is it that people are looking for. And mostly, if you talk to a vegan or somebody that's adopting kind of a plant-forward diet, what they miss the most is the experience. It's the memory that they can create. And bacon is such a great vehicle to do it. You can share with your family. You can season things with it. You can put it as a pizza topping. You can put it everywhere. And it brings that sense of almost nostalgia for something that you crave. But now you can have that without the guilt of knowing that you're causing environmental harm or that you're doing something detrimental to your health.
Yes, I love that you say this because for me, when I think of bacon, I think of a weekend morning because bacon is something, going out to work. I could never make or take that time during a weekday, but with my family, we do it on the weekends, always in the morning, and it means family time together. So bacon does conjure up all these wonderful family memories, but it is so bad for you. And as I think of younger generations, although myself included, when we think about the planet, we see more Gen Z, more millennials really saying like, hey, where's this sourced and what's it doing to my planet? It's kind of a win-win all around, which is why I want to ask you, because you're so heavy into research, and may I say that you have a larger company that, can I say that? Okay, so JBS, one of the largest meat producers in the world, so you know meat and you know taste. I mean, I would think. And here you are branching off into this alternative protein. Can you share with me why you're doing that?
Yes, and this is very dear to me. So I grew up in Latin America. I'm from Brazil, and I saw both the benefits of the meat industry going in Brazil and taking millions of people on, also the bad side of the environmental consequences of that. And JBS realizes that meat cooking alone cannot feed future generations in a sustainable way. So we came in to JBS in 2019 with the mission of feeding future generations. We just cannot continue to produce protein the way we do today and expect to feed the world in 2050. So this needs to be a part of the solution. And we're very happy to be inside of a company making the change, pushing the agenda for change. And I'm very proud of the investment they're putting behind it. We have a sister company in the UK called Vivera. That is a fantastic plant-based company. We have another sister company in Brazil called Ingredion. That is also the marketing leader in Brazil for plant-based. It's one of the most carnivore countries in the world, right? So it is about being part of the solution. That's really what we want to be. And Ozo specifically is our main tool to do it with a brand that is welcoming, that is non-judgmental, because at the end of the day, I tell people, I'm not advocating for a vegan club. That's not about a plant-based club. It's about a plant-based future. So I need to welcome people, and I need to take people one step. If I can change somebody's one meal a week, I don't need to convince them to change their lives, but if they can change their Sunday breakfast, it's a positive change, and that's what I really want.
There's so much to unpack there. You and I could have a very long conversation. I think about change for people and what it takes to get change, and it's really, have you made it easy for me? Because if it's at all hard, it won't happen. You imagine the single mother of three. She's not going to have this philosophical conversation. She's going to just buy what is inexpensive, is easy to make, and makes her kids happy that she's not going to have to fight about. So I think people are always saying to me, but culturally, meat. And I always say, look, if you can make it easy and inexpensive for people and it still tastes good, they're going to switch because it works for their lives, which is why I think it's interesting to watch Gen Z and millennials go so hardcore, if you will, on the environmental issues. It's what they care about. At the same time, we've been seeing, the Financial Times say that plant-based consumption is down. What are you seeing from your side?
What we're seeing is, well, the data shows that plant-based consumption was flat last year. But if you compare that to 2 years ago, it's up 120%. And that's massive. But I'll give a little very specific social experiment that I do in my own home. I have a 9-year-old and I have a 7-year-old, and they eat plant-based. And for them, not every day, they eat meat too. But for them, it's natural. It's not an alternative. It's just another item in the menu. When I cook the plant-based bacon for them, they have it. And as they grow up, that will become just a natural choice. I grew up eating meat. And if my mom made chicken or bacon or steak, it was just a different choice of protein. For my kids, clearly, if I make plant-based chicken or if I make a plant-based burger or if I make a burger, it's just a different choice of protein. So this is coming. This is happening. It's going to be a generational change. And we really want to be a major part of it. Culturally, we are shifting towards a world that accepts that different alternatives of protein are available and acceptable. My kids are definitely going to eat it several times a week. And I don't think they're special or differentiated versus what the experience of other families are going to be.
So I love what you're saying there. I want to summarize what you said because I think it's very important. Sometimes people say to me, oh, well, I think this is going to be just a fad and it will go away. And what George is saying is, in my opinion, it can't be a fad because it's not just that the younger generations want something that's environmental and they want choice. Consumers want choice. They don't want a limited lifestyle. They're used to going to a show like Expo West and getting everything they want. So consumers want options, and plant-based is just another option. But at the same time that consumers want something, industry is also pushing for something because they know that the numbers are not sustainable And so you have both working in concert. You have, oh, wow, we've got some information coming to us. You have, oddly, I don't know if I've ever seen this before, industry and consumers wanting the same thing, pushing for the same thing. Perhaps you can tell me what's going on in your booth.
So what's going on in our booth right now is celebrity chef Aaron May is hosting a cook competition for plant-based.
What are we doing here, you and me? Oh my gosh.
And we had a fantastic number of people signing up. And I think, and it's great that my colleague here informed us right during that conversation, because we had so many people sign up to cook plant-based and to show what alternatives can be. Because it's not simply about a burger. It's not simply about a ground beef. If you think, and I'm going to say something tongue-in-cheek, but the impossible future can't be just ground beef.
Thank God, yes.
Right? You can't eat it every day. So how can we get alternatives that get you to eat food that does other jobs? Perhaps the bacon can be your breakfast food. The chicken can be your salad topping. It can be what you put in your chicken tikka masala. And now you open an entire new horizon of alternatives for the acceptance of plant-based. And we're really excited about it. And we're very culinary focused. And we think the adoption of plant-based is something that is basically bound to happen. It has to happen because the world cannot feed itself in 3 decades through just regular protein. We're already seeing meat prices go through the roof. I do not expect them to go down. And plant-based has to play a major role in feeding future generations.
And just to explain on this, meat is going up because of inflation and all things are going up, but also the resources to make meat, regardless of the subsidies, and it's heavily subsidized, that taxes, that cost of land, that cost of water, it's such a high expenditure for meat products. So it's going to continue, as you say.
Yeah, if we think about this, right, 80% of the agricultural land in the world is dedicated to supply a food source, meat, that generates about 20% of the calories. We have a Pareto that is upside down. We have to do a better job at feeding ourselves and utilizing our resources. And I think just moving the X towards a better allocation of resources where our land is used to produce what produces most calories, what produces most protein, is a great way to do it. And allocating that to plant-based production makes absolute sense.
I just want to repeat what he said because it's so important. The equation as it stands is inefficient. We use, according to ourworlddata.org, 77%, like he said, almost 77% of land agriculture is used to graze and grow grains for animal agriculture. And it produces about 18%, like he said, or 20 of our calories. The flip side, thus, is also true. 23% of the agricultural land produces 82% of our calories. Why would we ever choose the other equation that is 80% giving us only 20%? That's a bad equation. You want the flip side.
Yes, exactly. And Ozo wants to be part of that solution, right? And what we know is not going to happen is just yelling at people and telling them to eating meat. People have tried that for decades. It hasn't worked. It won't work. So now what about we offer something that people really want?
Plant-based vegan. Okay, wait. My last question for you before I let you go back to your chef demo, which is so fun. Did you say that other people can cook with the chef? No, it's just the chef today.
No. We actually have 6 contestants are cooking and competing, and Aaron May is hosting the competition and judging the best plant-based plate that they cook.
That's so fun. Okay, well, before I let you loose, I'm wondering, how is your relationship going with Ingredion, and how did you two even come to work together?
Yeah, Ingredion is a great partner for us. We have a really good relationship. I talked to Michael. I talked to Matthew Bennett quite a bit. And they have a brand new R&D center in Greeley, Colorado. That they offer for us to do a lot of research with them. Today, we continue to look for better alternatives to simplify our portfolio, to have cleaner ingredients, and partnerships with ingredient companies are critical. Like Ozo is very focused on process. Like we want to create differentiation through process so that we can keep our labels clean. Like we have very few ingredients per label, and partnering with ingredient companies that can help us understand what's in the product, have transparency, have traceability on the supply chain is critical, and Ingredion is one of those good partners that allow us to do that.
Well, this is incredible because the person right before you was a very small startup. JBS, Ozo, and Plantera under the JBS umbrella, not small at all. And so it's amazing to me that Ingredion can be nimble enough to work with both of you and provide value on both. You needing very different things than a small start. You want transparency, you want supply chain, you want to understand the process, and they want help just getting started. And Ingredion can do both. So it's I'm so happy to be here at the Ingredion booth at Expo West because they're such a key player to so many brands. I want to thank you, George, for being with me. I'm going to keep the bacon, and
All right.
don't think you're taking my bacon. And I'll come find you. Hopefully the chef will still be cooking like a half an hour when I'm done.
Yes, we'll be there until 4 o'clock today. I look forward to seeing you there, and maybe we can try some of the chicken as well.
Okay, I'll be back to the Ozo booth.
Great.
Thank you for joining me. I
Thanks for having
appreciate
me.
it.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Okay, it's a round table here, everybody. I think Beth is coming, but maybe, and Karen's coming instead. You see, we're live, and it's just, oh, don't take my bacon. Okay, let's keep the bacon. I've got some bacon for you, Karen.
I mean, it looks delicious. I'm ready to go in on some.
Oh my God, the two prior to you were so tall.
know,
Now I get to change the camera.
Yeah,
My,
let's get it down to our height.
my word. Oh, Karen Constanza. Am I saying that right?
You are, yes.
Thank you for being here with me. Please tell me your title at Ingredion.
Sure. I'm our category marketing manager for meat and meat alternatives. So I cover all of the cool stuff we can do in that space. But a lot of my focus is on plant-based meat these days.
Yeah, so wonderful. So much to talk to you about. First, I want to talk to you about your breaking news this morning. You've been working long-standing on a research project about consumer trends, and you've got some great intel to divulge. Tell me.
Yeah, so we've actually just completed 2 studies recently. So the first one was more all about protein, right? We are starting with the qualitative research just to understand what motivates people around protein and then dive a little deeper to plant-based. The other study, which I'm particularly fond of because it's my category, is a plant-based meat study. It's an A&U, which is an attitudes and usage. And again, it not only asks, like, what are you expecting in the plant-based meats category, but it goes to brand level specifics. So what are people thinking about when they interact with your brand? What makes them want to become a repeat user or a loyal user to the product? So a lot of great brand level insights in that one.
And what did you find? Because I want to know this, and I want to get a copy of this report.
Absolutely, for a copy of the report. One of the cool things that we found is that everyone interacts with the brands differently. So a lot of them have great awareness, but maybe after they try the product, the hype's gone. And you need a little bit more to get them to stay forever. On the flip side, there are other people who have great tasting products, but people don't know about them. So it's a very interesting space because there's just so much going on. So it's very brand specific in terms of what some of the opportunities really are.
And is it surely a function of marketing that they don't know about them, or is it distribution channels?
All of the above would be the easy answer. I think there's a lot of hype around plant-based meat, but it comes into other things too. So some people are just not aware of certain brands. Others have trouble finding it where they shop. And then some, maybe they hear about it, they just can't find it. They don't know where to go to try it. So it's kind of a combination of factor. And again, it goes back to being very brand specific, which is nice that we have those level of insights so we can help our partners really understand like maybe where some of their troubles might be and where the opportunities are to help get them more exposure.
So this study was about each of the Ingredion brands or about brands generally in the marketplace?
About plant-based meat brands. So while we are an ingredient solutions provider, it's a little bit more than that, right? We want to help our customers get to market, be successful, and make great tasting products. So the brands that we actually looked into are the brands you would in the store. So again, like this fabulous bacon in front of us, how do customers interact with it? How do we get them to get excited and want to repeat purchase?
So I'll just mention, because I didn't get to say it before, I take this bacon hiking with me. So it doesn't always make it into a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich. Sometimes it's a hiking snack. So just saying, you can take that research and do what you will with it.
I'll take bacon anywhere we can. Honestly, I'm not going to hike with it, but maybe I'll walk around the show with it.
So, okay, in your consumer research, did you delve into any questions about, you had mentioned repeat purchase, and I'm very interested in this. The press has been talking a lot about people coming to the category, trying it once, and then not staying. What are you finding out about that?
Yeah, there's a couple drivers that when consumers interact with plant-based meat, they try it, they're excited, and then they don't come back, right? So what are those drivers? And that's what we wanted to know. And some of the main ones are pretty basic: taste, texture. These are things that, again, are in Ingredion's wheelhouse, but those are things that consumers are maybe not as thrilled with. So how do we make sure that we get these products tasting great? So once they try it, they want to incorporate it into their hiking routine, every part of their lives.
Okay, so you're feeling that maybe plant-based options aren't yet delivering on taste and texture. Is that right?
Well, I mean, I think there's some delicious products out there for sure. But when we look to the rescan, a lot of people come to the category very aspirational goals. But when they get there, taste and texture is king, right? They got to taste good. And that's, again, what we're noticing. There's a little bit of the hype is so high, then they get the product and maybe expectations aren't met. But again, I think there's a lot of great tasting brands out there, so maybe I'm biased.
Okay, and what about health? Was that one of the things that consumers were interested in, and how did plant-based brands measure up?
Yeah, health is definitely a very important drive. There's definitely a health halo around the category, so people come in expected to be healthy. There definitely is a little bit of concern. Hey, wait, are these products really healthy? So I think there's even more as a category that we can be doing to meet health goals.
I'll say my work in the category, I feel like the category hasn't done a great job of really saying how much healthier it is. They sometimes, depending, not all brands have a longer ingredient label, and they haven't gone out and defended that label. Cellulose really just being bamboo in its another state, and a lot of the consumers don't know that, so they think it's this really foreign chemical. It's not. So I feel like the category could defend its health claims better, but I don't know. What are you thinking from your research?
No, I think that's exactly it. A lot of what we found is that brand story, right? So what are your health benefits? Why do you have these ingredients in there? We know methyl cellulose is really cool, really functional, but how do you communicate that to a consumer who doesn't deal with methyl cellulose on a daily basis? The other thing we notice is sustainability. Health sustainability drives people to the category, but how do you tie that back into your brand and what your brand stands for? And that's what a lot of consumers really want to see.
Yeah, and the younger you go with the consumer base, the more they want to see it, and they won't accept anything less. So I don't think you're going to get around it, because you're not. I think it's very interesting to see where we're going, and that innovation bar really has been set by the consumer. So with that in mind, what have you thought about Expo West this year? What are you seeing that's really gotten your attention?
There's a lot of great tasting stuff out there. I think the main thing always is don't eat everything. Honestly, I'm really impressed with some of the plant-based meat products. That's what I'm specifically looking for. I think the flavor is getting better. I think the texture is getting even better. And again, it's just so much opportunity, like where Ingredion can partner with them to, help take it a step further. So I see a lot of opportunity, but a lot of hype. It's also just nice to see people in real life again.
It's fun to run around all the aisles. I mean, I think there are 5 buildings, building A, B, C, D, E. And then the North Hall, so that's 6, and then the plaza. So a lot of people, a lot of booths, a lot of food. You can't eat it all. I have found a product that I didn't know was out there before, and I thought, oh, this is really fun. Probably pronouncing it wrong. Bulgogi, which is like an Eastern European meat. And there's a plant-based version here in the North Hall, level 2. And they've used it sort of like an American sloppy Joe. It's really not doing justice to the Eastern European version, but I'm just giving people a mindset. So it's not a whole cut of meat. It's super good. Go to the second story, North Hall.
Awesome. I'm about to hit up all of the booths, taste all of this stuff. Again, trying to keep it a little spaced out, but there are a lot of good, unique, flavor profiles out there. So I think flavor's really stepping it up at the show.
I felt that too. I feel like texture still needs some work, but flavor has come to play.
Yes, absolutely. Again, from Ingredion standpoint, we're excited about that because that's our wheelhouse, but I'm glad the flavor aspect's there because again, it is just so important to consumers.
And then going back to your research study here just for a second, was that instigated by Ingredion, or did your partners come to you and say, Ingredion, help us, we need to understand?
It was actually, from an Ingredion standpoint, we, as the pandemic hits, we're not coming to trade shows. We did a lot of thinking about some of the, new categories that are emerging, plant-based meat being one of them. It's important to our plant-based protein strategy. So we decided to really dive in and really understand the category better. So it is Ingredion proprietary research, but we're, really excited now that we're meeting people again in real life to share that with our customers.
That's wonderful. Thank you for all you do. I'm so glad that we got a chance to talk today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. And again, I'm glad we could lower our screen here.
I'm so used to standing on my tippy toes for all the other people. Okay, well, yeah, I can be flat level with you. Well, okay, I'll see you in North Hall level 2.
Yeah, sounds good. It'll be good. Bring some bacon.
The bacon. Thank you. Right. Okay, our last person is coming through today. Beth, also from Ingredion. She's going to join me, and we're going to talk about the supply chain and Ingredion. Oh, you're another tall person. Oh my God, I'm going to have to up the camera here. Beth Tormey, am I saying that right? Tormey. Okay, almost. I was going to say almost like the actor, but not exactly. Okay, and tell me what you do with Ingredion.
So I head up our systems and ingredient solutions business for US, Canada, and that includes all of our specialty starches, our hydrocolloids, and of course, our plant-based proteins.
Okay, so what I love about this conversation is you really have a global view on, because again, as we discussed, Ingredion, a multinational company, you have a global view on ingredient, the supply chain, where the issues are. Obviously, it's in the news all the time, supply chain issues. It's not just for plant-based companies, it's for all companies coming out of COVID. What are you seeing in the plant-based space that is working well, and where do we have big hurdles?
So working well, obviously, the amount of energy and interest in these, it really is a movement. I heard that comment earlier today. I love it. It really is a movement. And I think it'd be fair to say that everyone everywhere will find their way into plant-based options. I love that. And the number of participants in the market has certainly created, what are fairly strong supply chains for these materials. And so I'm very confident that plant-based will continue to take a lot of energy around it. Now, at the same time, there are some challenges that are facing the marketplace. Everyone is probably aware there were some droughts around the United States and also in Europe that affected the crops. And so the price of peas had shot up. And now, of course, we're all very aware of the very terrible situation in Europe. With Ukraine in particular, the Russian invasion, and all of the impact that is having. Now, Eastern Europe, huge pulse part of the world. And so it's a little bit hard to say, how is that going to play out from a supply chain perspective? What impact will that have on the global availability of some pulse proteins? Luckily, Ingredion is manufacturing here in North America, and we're operating off of North American crops, so we feel pretty good about that. So those issues specific to pulses, I think we need to keep an eye on. Right now, I think it's a wait and see game. It's early still. The crops are coming in later in the year, as all of you know. So we'll be keeping a very, very close eye on it. Now, a number of other global factors are also impacted when you think about all of the food chain. So in particular, corn and wheat, as people may have heard on the news, heavily impacted by the situation in Ukraine. And of course, the global supply chain challenges, right? So whenever you're moving materials across far distances, you add to that airspace over Russia, you add to that ports in Europe that are impacted by the situation in Ukraine. So I think that the supply chain challenges, specifically around logistics and moving materials around the world, those are going to continue longer than maybe we thought before to this extraordinary situation.
And it is tricky times as we look at inflation. We were talking with George right before this that, inflationary pressures are putting pressure on meat as well as on plant-based items.
Big time. That's right. So we all know that the meat value chain, of course, relies on grains in terms of their raw materials, if you will. And so they will be equally, if not more, impacted. We can all see it in the grocery store. And so it'll be, again, we'll be watching very closely to see if everybody's affected sort of the same, or will there be some discontinuities where, again, corn and wheat going up very, very quickly, and plant-based proteins remains to be seen.
It does remain to be seen. And I wonder how that will shake out, because obviously plant-based protein, a lot of it done with seitan or other pulse,
There are other alternatives. That's right.
There are
proteins, many different forms. And it could be that, that there would be some related shifts to that. Again, remains to be seen. We're going to be watching very closely.
No, I think in an odd way, I don't want to be Pollyanna here. What's going on is awful. I speak of the Ukraine-Russia situation, and also we're all going through inflation. These are tricky times. We're still coming out of COVID, and there's still, you can see it on the ports of Los Angeles here at Expo West. We're in Los Angeles. The cargo ships just hanging out at the port. We're all like, should we go swim and get our stuff? Like, what's the problem? But it is going to force perhaps less monocropping, less wheat. So then you see this might change how we farm. This might be better for farmers and land. It could play out differently.
Yeah, I do think that it will. It will certainly have people take a really hard look at how we're operating many different parts of the food chain. I mean, there are so many impacted areas. Certainly from a farming perspective, broader planting of crops, I think, is going to be highly encouraged. Better balancing between regions, that dependence on long supply chains, everyone's reevaluating. There's also a reevaluation around inventories. I think a lot of people have tried to operate with very, very little inventory. And we find whenever there's a global disruption, little inventory creates a lot of challenges. So I do think there'll be a lot of reevaluation about how we do things, but I think it will start with farmers.
And I'm so happy about that. Farmers currently, I think, don't have the best contracts and situations, and I think this actually will play out better for them.
It's amazing. It is a horrible, horrible situation. But I think in every crisis, there are some silver linings that teach us all to do things better for the long term.
And I don't want to overstate this, and I'll be very clear, this is not my level of expertise, so you can share with me your thoughts on this. But as we go through these global problems together, politicians become less important, and key international players like good actors, let's say an Ingredion multinational company that's a good actor, takes on a more important role. Do I have that right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, because we have, positioning globally, and we can, if you will, help ourselves out across multiple regions. We have found that globality, but also the fact that we have folks on the ground in every region, that's helped us to bring ideas, concepts, but also to balance and supplement how we're operating in each region and really improve the way that we look at the world from a supply perspective.
It's so fascinating that our food supply, of course, is a geopolitical conversation in the end. It touches everything that we do. But we've been talking macro and global here. I want to zoom in and ask your opinion on something that has not been fixed, and I sort of don't understand why. We're all still short on co-manufacturing plants. We know that we've been short on co-manufacturing plants for a while now. Why aren't we fixing that?
Yeah, that's a super interesting challenge, and I must admit I don't have easy answers there. In the end, it really comes down to where are the investments going to come from, and I think that we really need people to step up and make those investments. I think too that there are technology shifts, right? And when you're investing in co-manufacturing technology, you're investing in what you need to make now, and people are naturally trying to also plan for the future. You don't want to build something today and have it be obsolete not too far down the road. But I think that, again, long supply chains is going to make people reconsider whether or not we look to do additional investments locally. And I really love the local concepts, right? My responsibility is U.S., Canada. And what we have found, especially around things like plant-based proteins, but also all the starches and other materials that we manufacture, we're manufacturing in region to sell in region. And that takes a lot of complexity out of supply chains and doesn't have us as much buffeted by these global situations as many are. So
it's very interesting, the relationships that you end up developing then locally with local farmers, local business owners, and then globally also with your partners around the world. So it's a very interesting position that you play.
Yeah, and I really love the farmer relationship. Now there we do have local relationships, like you said, up in Canada, across the United States. Ingredion has been working with farmers for, probably more than 100 years. At the same time, if we look at other parts of our portfolio, which are only available from different parts of the world, for example, gum acacia. So we source gum acacia from the Sudan. There we also have relationships with farmers, supporting them from an educational perspective, obviously from a sales relationship, they're selling to us, and a lot of local support for them to ensure that they can continue to farm and supply materials to us. And it's been a very long-standing relationship. It's going really, really well. And I really love those grassroots relationships, because then you really know where things are coming from, but you also know that there are generations of families who are helped out by that.
Yeah, the work is really so rewarding. And again, food touches every form of our lives and everyone in different ways. So fascinating. Okay, as we wrap up our show here today, you've been walking around Expo West, all 6 buildings of it. What stands out to you? What have you really loved?
Well, I've certainly loved the energy. After 2 years hiatus, it is so great to see so much energy, so many companies here showing, but also so many people participating, walking around, talking to each other, and really the passion and energy really shows. New products, so exciting. I love these kind of opportunities to showcase new products, really unique things. And in particular, I'd love to see so many plant-based proteins options out there, so many companies talking about it, and not just, across the board, many different applications, core applications around alternative meats, but also beverages. I mean, you name it, it's here. It's
Yeah.
so exciting.
Really, you name it, it's here. And Ingredion, a focal point of the show. We are building I believe it's called row 1450, row 1400. I think we're 1453 or 1457. We might be both because we have an enormous booth here. Beth, I want to thank you for speaking to me. And we both have to get back to eating, people. So
Right.
I will see you next week, everybody, on the Plant-Based Business Hour. Oh, wait, we didn't even eat our
Try
yogurt.
this,
Oh, wait,
which
what is this?
outstanding. So this is a plant-based, protein-based yogurt. Fabulous, very clean, beautiful, clean taste. We've topped it with a low sugar cherry topping, which comes from our core business. And then on top of that is a homemade granola, which includes a plant-based crumble in order to give it a high protein profile.
So we're going to eat this. And is this something that Ingredion makes or someone else is making it for you?
Well, our culinologists and our technicians developed the product and brought it together here for the show. We're the ingredient supplier, but as we often do, we'll put together prototypes like this and offer these prototypes to our customers to take to market if they're interested to do so. Please come by and try it. It's fantastic. And I really love the high protein granola concept. I've never seen it before. It's light, it's tasty. Give it a try.
Okay, wait. So, because I was focusing on the custard. You said yogurt, but it really tastes very custard to me. Okay, so I missed the rest of it. Tell me about the high protein granola. I'm sorry, everybody. There's a lot to take in.
So it's basically a granola formulation, but in this one we've taken an extruded protein, so it's in an extruded form, and put that into the granola in order to give a protein profile to the granola, as well as having a great crunchy texture and a wonderful taste profile. So
we need people to the Ingredion booth so that they can bring this to market. Lots of innovation happening here at Expo West, and particularly in the Ingredion booth. Everybody, it's been wonderful to see you. We're out and over, but I will see you next Tuesday on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and